All right, guys, welcome back to another edition of the HardBody Chronicle. Like I said, I've been trying to stay consistent with releasing this video, so this is hopefully not rushed in any way and it's still quality. And if it's not, I apologize. Um, so right now, I kind of want to discuss the chop situation. So it has officially been torn down. So what happened was on the morning of July 1st, around 5 a.m. or so, the cops essentially came through Cal Anderson and the chop area further north from my place, or further south, sorry, and just cleared it out. So anyone that was camped out was told to get their shit and essentially get out. It, from what I heard, it didn't seem like it was violent in any way. Just people were just getting their stuff and leaving. I think a lot of the campers may have gotten a heads up that it was happening. A lot of them weren't there. So a lot of empty tents that were cleared out, and so the cops are going through, also with cleanup crews and whatnot, going in there, just cleaning it up essentially. So, and then right after that, what they did was the police created kind of a perimeter around the neighborhood that was bigger than the chop. So it was just lined with cops pretty much around the neighborhood. So you actually had to ask permission to get into your home if you lived within that perimeter, which was interesting. So, after all the things that had happened, and then now you have to ask cops for permission to get back into your house. If you had to go to work, they would lift up the police tape for you so you can drive out or walk through, and then you have to tell them where you live when you come back. It seemed like some cops were asking for ID for you to get back in there. I was only asked once for my ID. It seemed like the vast majority of cops were just asking for some kind of indication that you did actually live where you said you did, and it didn't seem like they were really harassing people as much. Although I did see on Twitter there was definitely some back and forth, I think, with media and the cops. Yeah, so I mean that's to be expected, but at least my experiences weren't bad. Like I said, I was only asked one time for my ID, which is stupid if you think about it, because a lot of driver's licenses or IDs don't have your current address on them. So that was kind of dumb, I think. And also, I wasn't sure it was technically legal for them to do that. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't really speak to that. But I think there's something in there where you can't really prevent someone from going into their home. So, yeah, but I think at that point everyone was just kind of over it. I think Chop turned into something pretty wild with all the shootings and whatnot, and that really did take away from the message. So I don't know. I mean, it was nice to have it be quiet again. I was always anxious. First it was the protests, going, you know, um, going up to the precinct, and the cops, fucking shooting tear gas and rubber bullets. And that was always kind of like, I got to go to sleep and work the next morning, and I'm hearing this shit at 2 a.m. So, um, but then it turned into the cops left, and then we got all the shootings. So it was kind of nice for some kind of normalcy back into the neighborhood. Um, Yeah, so the park got cleaned up. Everything pretty much got cleaned up. Whatever was chopped is now gone. I think there's a garden left, and it's funny. There's a picture flying around of this cop watering this garden that protesters had set up in Cal Anderson. It's just odd. I don't know. I don't know if that garden is still there, but it was just surreal to see that after the fact. So yeah, I mean, I've never. All I could think of was like the shit that you read about in history books, where you have to show your papers to to uh, to let the authorities know that you're allowed to be in a certain area of the city. I mean, that's just wild. So, um, but now the cops have left. There's that everything's cleaned up. I think the park is also reopened. So it's kind of back to normal, I think. Um, I'm not. There were some protests after the fact, after they set up that large perimeter, but it wasn't anything too crazy. It was very peaceful from what I saw. Um, so that died down, after the cops came in and cleaned it up. There was one weekend where the fucking Proud Boys showed up right around my block, and that was annoying because they show up, they're open carrying firearms, so they have rifles and pistols, and they're just agitating the Black Lives Matter protesters, and they're just they're almost picking for a fight with, but then they puss out at the same time, so they're not real. When I think when something did happen, the cops were actually there, and they kind of split them up. So um, it's just lame. Like I don't the whole thing about carrying your rifle around. To me, it's kind of dumb. Like it's just don't bring it out unless you're going to use it, right? Like what? Like most people that open carry have it concealed in some way. They're not really flaunting it. Um, I mean, it doesn't. I don't know. Is it supposed to scare people? Like I don't know. Like I like I knew they weren't going to shoot anyone. Um, so it's like why bring it? Like go. You can counter protest. That's fine. But um, like if you really think things would get to that point where there would be a shootout, like I don't know, maybe we're doing the wrong things here. It's supposed to be a protest, not full on warfare. So yeah, that's kind of lame. So and thankfully nothing happened with the Proud Boys. I think they were only here one day. Yeah, I think it was a Sunday. No, it was 4th of July. Yeah, they came in 4th of July, and yeah, I think one of the guys who was live streaming it of the Proud Boys wasn't even from fucking Washington. He came from Oklahoma, and it was a black dude, which is the irony of that is just hilarious to me. I mean, you can be of color and right winger, that's fine, but it's just odd. Like I don't. Um, yeah, so I mean, it was just wild. Thankfully, like I said, they were only here for one day. Nothing popped off, so um, that that's fine, I guess. But it's just not necessary. I think at this point, it's just kind of doesn't really add anything to the discourse. So it's just agitation that's not needed at this point. So um, yeah, and then like I said, ever since then things have calmed down a lot. Like I said, the park's back open. I don't. There's smaller protests here and there, but they're a little more organized. They're not so wild anymore. So which is good. I feel like the movement should keep going. CHOP is more or less just symbolic. I think there's still a lot of work that can be done amongst the communities, and uh, there could definitely be some improvements on how policing is done in general. And I hope something happens, but it's so hard to say what that's going to be. There's a lot of demands from random groups and whatnot, but um, how any of this will be taken, or yeah, how it will be enforced on the legislative side, I'm not sure. Um, yeah, it's yet to be seen. So yeah, I think as long as the momentum keeps going, hopefully there's some kind of reform. Um, Now there's a lot of questions as to what that actually is. I mean, to be honest, I'm not too well versed on what they mean by defunding. Um, I'm not sure if taking money away is necessarily the right thing. There could definitely be a restructuring. There's a lot of money that goes towards policing, at least here in Seattle. Um, I'm not sure. Um, I mean, they are underpaid. They have minimal training for the kind of scenarios that they have to go into. It's just, um, it's yeah, it sucks. Actually, it's just terrible. I don't know. The best thing they have going for them is just a really buff union that makes it hard for them to be tried, and um, they have immunity essentially, so they can do their jobs without worrying about things. But it's definitely when the shit goes down, they have a lot of protections. So, um, and it's definitely a bit of a boys' club type thing going on with the cops. So, um, I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, if anything, it should be harder to be a cop. There should be higher standards. There should be a base level of education, I think. I mean, if you want to be real about it, cops are essentially social workers. That's kind of the role they should be playing. They're not. They shouldn't be enforcers. Uh, I mean, the firearms should only come out, in certain situations, not pulling people over or regular day to day stuff, citations and whatnot. Not, I mean, this should be a non-issue. Like, um, yeah, and I think it's just really they're scraping the bottom of the barrel in terms of the candidates that they hire. It's clear, and that it really shouldn't be that way. I mean, any dude that barely got by through high school and can't find a job, oh, be a cop, and those are the people that are pulling you over, and that's a large part of the issues of why we are where we are today. Um, I mean, you see it all time and time again. Cops, they're routinely in situations where they don't have all the facts, so they just escalate it to a life and death situation, and that's just a lack of training, really, of not knowing how to deal with certain scenarios, how to escalate, how to de-escalate, how to assess the situation appropriately. Like, so they just go to the one thing they can always count on, and that's when they pull out the gun. You know, it just things fucking turn into a mess, and I don't know if it's just because they pull it out just to try to dominate the situation, or I mean, I don't know. You could always just talk to people. That usually works. So, um, so that's kind of how I see it. But again, I don't. I mean, the main thing is cops need to stop being fucking racist. Like we wouldn't be here if that wasn't the case. That is definitely um, one of the, if not the largest issue with cops. They're just the ones that do shit are just racist, and that needs to stop. Like, if they can't figure that out when they're hiring you or training you, then obviously there's something wrong with those processes in place. Um, for the academies that turn out the cops, it definitely needs to be reassessed. Now, I don't know if defunding or restructuring, whatever terminology you want to use for that. I'm not sure. But like I said, I mean, if you're just being real, cops like 90% of the time are doing like social work, like domestic violence, going into communities, trying to sort out issues and whatnot. I mean, it doesn't entail the need for violence or enforcement of laws. It's really just talking to the people and seeing what's going on, learning and knowing the communities that you're policing. That's what the real work should be, and the focus should be on, not necessarily enforcement of through violence. I think that's the wrong approach to policing in general. You're not the fucking army. You're not defending us from a foreign invader. Like you're supposed to protect us. So that's really the whole thing. Kind of needs to just be reassessed before we go forward. On top of getting rid of racist assholes that feel the need to impose themselves on others because they can't figure shit out. So that's kind of my spiel on that. So yeah, but again, I don't claim to have all the answers, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not too well versed on the alternatives or what's really being proposed. Like it's not very clear. But at the minimum, we're bringing more attention to it. There's a lot of support, obviously, amongst people of color, Black people, but also non-people of color. So any white person nowadays, all the white kids nowadays they're definitely more hip to what's going on and how the shit's been going on for a while, and they're over it, which is good to see. I mean, it's that kind of thing it is a matter of time, but why do we need to wait so long for things to change and get better for everyone? Like, won't we just all be better off if we just are good to each other now, as opposed to, I don't know, when we're all mixed and there is no white or black or brown, like it's just we're all just one tone. I don't know, like why does it have to be that way? Like let's just enjoy each other as we are now and be good to each other, enjoy our differences and our and enjoy our cultures together, and teach and learn from each other. I don't know why does it have to, why can't it just be now? Um, that's just how I see it. But again, like, I mean, you can see right now with our current presidential race, Trump's doubling down on racist rhetoric. So we'll see. I mean, there is a lot of people that feel that way, unfortunately. I mean, you look at the numbers, this country is still 70% white. So I mean, and that, I think we forget that because we don't see it. Like a lot of us that live in cities and urban areas, you see a decent mix of ethnicities and peoples and cultures, and so. But when you think about it, like, wait, we're still 70% white. It's just, to me, it's kind of wild. I mean, I walk outside. There's all kinds of the racial breakdown is all over the place. I mean, the schools I went to are primarily Black, so it's just, yeah, it's just weird to think about. I mean, and to be honest, like I never go through the Bible Belt or the Midwest. Like I have no reason to, but that's where all these people are, and so I mean, either way, I still feel like there's no reason to put this off any longer. Like let's just stop being racist and shitty to each other and just appreciate each other instead. Like you don't lose anything from that. You'll become a better person once you get rid of your prejudices and be open minded to things that are different from you. You might learn something. So that's kind of my viewpoint on that. So hopefully, like I said, hopefully the ball gets rolling and things actually do go through and are made official um, to stop all this bullshit from happening. This is not something we need to revisit for any reason. So yeah, so that's what I got regarding Chop. Definitely an interesting experiment. Not sure if I would repeat it. Um, I mean, if it was going to happen in any other city, like, I don't know, like if Capitol Hill is probably the place something like this would have happened. Like I don't, it's like they tried it in Portland and it didn't work, but we pulled it off in Seattle. So that, I mean, yeah, um, yeah, definitely. I know I was reading news outlets from other parts of the country, and they had a weird impression of what was going on over here. Some people thought that it was like a fucking takeover. It really wasn't, but on paper it does sound like. I mean, if you read about what happened, like you would think, like, oh shit, like, are you serious? Like, what's going on? Like, so I could see why people would think that, but it wasn't as bad as people thought. At least people outside of Washington State thought it was, but it did get kind of wild after the cops left and all the shooting. So that wasn't cool. So we'll see. Um, but like I said, I don't think this is anything that we need to redo. I think let's just learn from the things we experience and let's just move on and keep this shit going. So yeah, that's the breakdown I have from Chop, and at least personally, I'm glad that it's calmed down to the point where I can, sleep. Because that's why I went away for a week down to Texas, just to get away. Like it was just too bad. Like after fucking pandemics going on, I got to work from home. All the protests and the shootings, like it was just like I can't function. So I had to take matters into my own hands and get the fuck out. So now at least I can leave the windows open because it's summer, so it's hot. I can leave the windows open, sleep, not worry about hearing gunshots, and, or ducking shit. Like it's just, I'm just glad it's over. There was definitely some anxiety from my part trying to deal with all that. Um, like I wasn't ever worried that something crazy would happen, but like you never know. So um, me just being paranoid in general wasn't a good situation for me mentally. So like I said, I'm glad it's died down and we can kind of move on from it. Um, so yeah, the only other big thing going on right now, at least that I'm interested in, is UFC 251 Fight Island took place. So uh, spoilers if you haven't seen it. I don't know. By the time I upload this, I would think everyone has already read the results or saw the pay-per-view. So yeah, the whole concept of Fight Island was kind of interesting. It's some little island in Abu Dhabi, and they have some kind of arena in there that they built just for the fights. I mean, I guess if there's anywhere you could do that, Abu Dhabi is the place to do it. So, yeah, I think a lot of people thought it would actually take place outside, but it's about 100 degrees, so you can't fight. No one would survive fighting out in the beach in 100-degree weather for 5 rounds. Like it wouldn't be. That'd be inhumane. So, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like maybe they could have decorated, maybe put some fucking palm trees. Do something a little creative. But no, it was just an empty arena. Um, but I mean, again, it was the only sports that we had access to. And overall, the card was pretty good. Even the early prelims, the prelims were solid. Overall, pretty on average, all the fights are pretty good. For the main card, main card of the first match was Amanda Ribas versus Paige Van Zant. Um, Paige Van Zant's a very attractive female fighter. She has a lot of followers on Instagram, and um, she has some decent wins, but that's about it. Yeah, she got subbed in the first round with an armbar. Um, I don't know. I mean, hey, she gets the views, I guess. So smart to have her on the card. Um, but yeah, just didn't, just came out and got subbed right away. Yeah, Paige Van Zant was in he was guard, and she pulled off a pretty slick face down armbar. It's pretty gnarly. So it's a good catch by Hebus. But I wasn't sure what to expect in this fight. I don't. Unfortunately, women's MMA is it's still kind of it's some are really good and some are like not. So it's always kind of a little lopsided. Kind of like old UFCs, like UFCs 1 through 5, where it's like you have someone who knows what they're doing and someone who um, only does karate and nothing else and doesn't know what a takedown is. So um, yeah, I mean, to be honest, I wasn't really sure what to expect with that fight, but it was quick. So he was pretty slick with that armbar. So yeah, it was all right. Um, Second fight was Rose Namajunas, and she beat Jessica Andrade. And I think this is probably one of the better fights. Let me see. I mean, it was a close fight. Andrade previously had beaten Rose via like fucking a slam. So Roses looked really good. Actually, she was on point with the striking, and Jessica looked way better than she normally does. But she still throws a lot of hooks. Like that's all she does. She was ducking and weaving well and has good head movement, but she should probably throw a jab here and there because she was getting pieced up by Rose, and Rose looked really good. So probably, I would say that was probably fight of the night. Um, one of the more entertaining matches for sure. So, see what was after that. Oh, yeah, Peter Yan defeats Jose Aldo in the 5th round. So that was for the belt. Yeah, Jose he didn't look great. He looked okay in the first few rounds, and as a fan of his, I'm always rooting for him. I mean, he's not that old, but he's just been in so many fights, and when Peter Yan had him on the ground, I mean, Jose was turtling up. It just didn't look good. And eventually he got him a TKO in the 5th round. But I mean, he lasted a long time, but he didn't look great. So it was kind of a bummer to see Jose um, taken out like that. So I don't know. I don't know what's left for him if he's going to retire. I would say he should. He's taking a lot of damage. Hopefully he's saved his money so that he'll be all right. But it's definitely a clear victory with the TKO. So we'll see. It was a little, excuse me. Oh, sorry. It was a little hard to watch, and Twitter was blowing up saying that the ref should have stopped it earlier. You know me, I'm all about letting it go as long as it needs to, so that we know who fucking won. Because I hate when refs come in too early. So I rather them take a few more hits just to make sure. So it's clear. There's no excuses as to who won and who lost the fight. So, but yeah, thankfully that did end in the 5th round. It was called by the ref. So there you go. Co-main event was Volkanovski versus Max Holloway. Yeah, so Volkanovski won. It was a title fight. It went the distance, all 5 rounds. Um, I thought Max won at least 3 rounds. So I don't know. Maybe I missed something. Um, some people on Twitter are saying that he did legit win. I didn't see it though. Maybe I wasn't paying attention to the right things, but I just from what I saw, it looked like Max had won. Um, so I mean, I don't know if I want to say robbery, but I feel like I don't know. I'd be willing to go back and rewatch the fight, but and maybe pick out things that I missed. But from what the initial viewing, Max had won at least the first 3 rounds easily. And Volkanovski was coming back in the last two, but I don't think it was enough to really uh, give him the win. I'm not sure. So it was odd. Um, I wasn't too happy with that result. And then for the, and it was a pretty good fight. Um, but I still don't think it was better than Rose and Andrade, but it was still solid. Probably second best fight of the night. And then for the main event, Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. Um, I mean, this fight was only going to go two ways: one, knockout on Masvidal's side, or two, wrestle fuck by Usman. And then we got result number two, which is the wrestle fuck. So Usman just fucking held him down. It was either he would just take him towards the cage, keep him there, um, try to try to get a takedown, and that was his game plan. I mean, it was pretty sure all the casuals are upset with it and called it boring, and it was, it was boring. It was still interesting to watch, but it wasn't the most exciting fight, and I would not recommend this to the casual fan to go back and watch it. Or this would not be one of the premier fights that you would use to get people into MMA. So, but yeah, I think all the judges had it for Usman. I think. No, I could be wrong on that. Never mind. But yeah, I mean, there's Masvidal he was landing some good strikes here and there, but just not enough to really keep him away or or yeah, and I mean, like I said, he was only going to get a knockout. He wasn't going to out wrestle Usman in any way. So, um, but yeah, I mean, overall, Fight Island being real was cool, and seeing these guys go at it. I mean, the quality of the card was really good. Um, yeah, I'd be curious to see what kind of buy rates they did, because considering there are no sports, but at the same time, MMA is such a weird. It has a weird audience. It's I don't know. It's still very in its infancy. I think, considering all the progress it's made, it's still not. I mean, it's not really a well respected sport. I think it's still looked down upon by the majority of people. So that's where it's at, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, if they could even break 100,000, that'd be cool in terms of buy rates. But I don't know. So we'll see. Um, so yeah, that's all I got for this week. In terms of the business, I'm working on some new designs. I've put some stuff on Instagram. So go check it out. I'm working on a Chun-Li project. Uh, Multiple people have told me they wanted a Chun-Li project. Yeah, it's both men and women. So it's she's very her reach is large. When I first did the Zangief piece, that was people were like, "Oh, that's cool," but that's just because I like Zangief. It's my favorite character and the guy I actually used in Street Fighter. But Chun-Li is also super popular. Um, Maybe right next to like Ryu and Ken, I think, in terms of in general popularity of Street Fighter. I put her right up there. So it just makes sense that I maybe give it a shot, make a piece with her as a focus. So feel free to check that out on Instagram. I haven't printed any of them yet. I have to get some more screens. Um, like I said, I'm still trying to see. I mean, I do want to make a run of like a whole batch of one product. What that is, I don't know yet. And just to see how it goes. Like it'd be like a limited run, and just until I have it up until I sell out essentially, and just go from there. Just to kind of do like a vibe check as to who would actually buy this shit. Um, I've got the website set up and all that, but there's no products on it, obviously. So we'll see. I mean, I'm doing work, so don't worry about that. I'm like, it's just kind of trying to figure out the timing of all this, and trying to see what would actually sell. Um, because I want to make a quality product, and I just don't want to put out random shit out there. Like a lot of the things that I'm designing, like they're concepts that I spent a lot of time on and trying to just kind of perfect them as individual pieces. So it takes time, but at least lately, I've definitely been focusing more on the business and trying to see, working on stuff in the back, learning stuff in Photoshop and Illustrator. Um, I mean, I don't know. I would like for it to blow up. That'd be cool. Um, be my own boss would be kind of the goal of all this, and if I can do it through that, why not? But that's for now. It's still just a hobby. I have no um, illusions of grandeur. Like it's just kind of a thing that I would like to do and just see how it goes. So maybe the next, like I keep saying it, but I will show you kind of things that I'm working on, and I'll show you screens and whatnot that I've made. Maybe talk a little bit about that process. I think that'd be kind of interesting because I mean, sometimes you don't really think about how things are made, and this is one of those things that I learned about, and I was like, hey, that's kind of cool. I'd actually like to do it. And I did it. Like it's just, and I think that's kind of one of the cool things of the internet. You have essentially infinite knowledge at your fingertips. So anything you want to learn about, you can, whether it's history, science, math, art, anything. Like it's all there. It's like someone who's passionate enough about it made it available to the masses, and that's something that we haven't really seen at any time in history. Like that's kind of new about how things are right now. I mean, there's pros and cons to that, but I think in terms of just having things accessible, like there's no better time than now. So anything that you're interested in, um, check it out, look it up, learn a skill, a craft, whatever it is. There's always something that you can pick up on that isn't just not just watching Netflix. Yes. Um, so yeah, that's all I got for this week. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Blessings to all of you. Take care of yourselves and your families. Take time to really do some self-care. I think that's a key thing right now. I mean, whether you need take a nap, get some more sleep, maybe, I don't know, have some dessert with your dinner. Just little things like that do go a long way to making sure you're balanced out, because I mean, the research is already out there. Like when we come out of this, there's going to be a lot of residual effects, whether that's depression, some kind of PTSD. So whatever you can do right now to circumvent that is advisable. So blessings to all of you, and I'll catch you next time.